Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ranger Rob Country Living channel, or I should say podcast. And we got a full house today, and and I'm a little distracted because one of my screens didn't switch. So,
That happened last week.
It's been one of those days. So anyway, welcome to the show. And so we have a new guest today, and we're going to talk to him a little more. We have John and Debbie Sternberg. Did I say it right? Sternberg? All right. And we're so happy to have you. You guys are actually, let me think where you're at. You're kind of closer to Aimee than you are to me, but you got a nice little spread, and you have about 1.5 acres or 2?
2.5.
2.5.
2.5. And it's amazing what they're doing with 2.5. You do not, we talk about this over and over on the show. You can amazing what you can do with 3/4 acre. You just got to manage it well. And so we did do a tour of your place, and that video will be out next week. So you can see what John and Debbie have been doing with their place. And so, yeah, I was really thrilled to get over there. They do have some piggies, but they have no feet.
No, they have no legs.
They have no legs. Oh, okay. So it was like seeing Idaho pasture pigs that look like corgis.
Yeah.
So they're actually they're quite a bigger pig than I thought they'd be, but they have no legs. they just waddle.
Little sausages that just roll around on the ground.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
And they've been feeding them really well, so they're they're ready to be for freezer camp, and they're very ready for it. So you guys are going to have some good storage there. So I had a good time. We got it all on video, and so next week you'll see what's going on. I got to change over the comments. Anybody talking to you?
Well, yeah, Jack's on there. John's on there.
Hey, Jack, how's it going?
Yeah.
So John and Debbie, there's a button on your side, and we got Backyard Reactions, which is John Smith. There's a button on there that says comments, so you can see the comments that start coming in. And there's also a private chat, and that's not it. You want to go to the comments. So anyway, so if you want to see stuff going on, good to see folks. Good to see some of the stuff we're going to talk about today would be good for John too. But he's our weather is probably similar to his weather right now. He's down in Arizona, so but he's a homesteader wannabe, but has the right mindset, and it's really nice to meet him because he's kind of a generation between Aimee and us older folks, and he's at that contemplation time, like, what am I going to do? They're running out of water down there, so it'd be really interesting to get him on in the next week or two and talk about water and what's his thought process, like what if, and so what are all those guys going to do when they don't have water?
Water.
Second thing I want to bring up before I get into the subjects and stuff is I went to Ryan's Produce, and I was getting corn, and I like to get the tricolored corn, because it's a little sweeter. Didn't have any. All he had was orange, and then he was there. I said, "What's going on?" They're cutting him back on his how much corn he gets now. His corn comes from California, and they're starting to ration the water down there. And he can't get corn from Yakima yet. So anyway, so it's starting to happen. So that was like, a little reality in Central Oregon. So good to know. I guess another thing we need to bring up before we go into our fun subjects is Crooked River Ranch is having a little bit of a water issue. Don't know the whole story about that, but I just read it. They did a warning about boiling your water. And so I think Dale had a little bit of a comment about that, didn't you? Did you find out any more?
Oh yeah. It's a fairly unique situation. It doesn't happen too often. And for the readers out there, we do have a municipal water system that serves portions of the ranch here. I am on that community water system. In fact, the water tower is about 200 yards from my place here on the hill. And Rob and Aimee are on wells, so they weren't really affected. But about 3:30 this morning, get up to go to the little boys' room and everything, and turn the water on, and there's the water and everything. And I go, well, this is not good. And so me having, multiple lines running around outside here for my irrigation and everything, I immediately think that something's popped loose. We're digging a hole hydraulically out here somewhere. So 3:30 in the morning, I'm out checking all my irrigation sites and everything else. Nothing, and so happened to jump online, and the guy was, I know, kind of a night owl. He's up and says, yeah, the water system's down. So apparently the pumps didn't come on, and there's a 1,000,000-gallon tank up here behind my house, and the pumps didn't come on sometime during the night, and no alarms went. So obviously some kind of a system failure in the control deal there, and this 1,000,000-gallon tank went dry. And
It went dry?
It went dry. And this is the last thing you want that happen.
I had low pressure in the morning.
Yeah, there was nothing, and so the tank went dry, and that's not good. You get a lot of air into the system. You get a lot of potential for cross-contamination, backflow situations. That's the reason we have a lot of backflow devices here. The pressure's been pretty low all day. They're trying to refill the tank and trying to, balance the current needs and everything else. Problem with that is that pump may have to run 36 hours straight, and those pumps really aren't set up to do that and everything. So at this time, everybody's still got water. They do have a boil water notice on. They haven't put any restrictions or anything like that on yet. So we should be in pretty good shape. But, I just walked into my little storage closet, pulled out a couple of gallon jugs of water to make my coffee and everything else with, and off we went. So that's something for people to consider. Me being a guy who had farms and nurseries and responsible for irrigation systems, I've gotten those middle of the night, low pressure, high flow calls. They're not fun, but at least you get them and you can get out and deal with it. So I've pretty much been up since then because you never go back to sleep on something like that. So this is why you store water, people.
He sounds like a prepper, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's what it says there. So, and I got to back out because I'm locked up, so I'll be right back.
Okay. So Dale's video freezes a lot on him, so a lot of times he reboots himself when he comes back in. I think he just does it for the entertainment. So the one thing I wanted to bring up here that we got going on before I kind of get the panel going here is we are working on an estate sale and a garage sale combination. And actually, it's good that Dale's not on here because he's like, "Are you crazy?" So we've got so much stuff that we're pulling out of here, and so I thought, you know what, we need to start thinning. So I just put a little note out on Nextdoor and also a Facebook page, and suggested to people. I said, if you come in and let me get Dale back on here. There he is. If you come in here between 12 and 5. It's going to take us a week before we can even have all this sorted out. But if you want to go through dirt and get your hands dirty and come on and go through the boxes, come on over and help thin this stuff out. And it wasn't 45 minutes after I posted that. It was almost like 3 cars in a row. But they were like the serious kind of people. It was just the kind of people we wanted. They'll kind of go in there. They know what they're looking for, and they know what something is vintage or something. So it was like really nice to have those kind of people, other than people going, "Oh, it's just a bunch of junk." Some of them were here for an hour or two, just going through boxes and stuff, and they were real go-getters, and they were very serious people. And we made actually over almost $200 in just a very short time, because I didn't post that till like 3, but it definitely messed up our cleaning out of the garage. So wasn't it probably the smartest thing? Dale thinks it was a great idea.
Well, I figured you'd have cars lined up down there and everything else, but what better way to completely disrupt your workflow for the day than invite a bunch of random strangers over to paw through your stuff?
Yeah, but we've never done this before, so it was actually a great experience because they came in, we kind of knew what people would be looking at and how they'd be asking about how much and all that stuff. So we didn't have a clue about anything. So they were very understanding, and we were just thrilled.
You meet some great people too.
Oh yeah, and it was luckily most of them knew about the Ranger Rob show, so they kind of like oh, not only that, he's Ranger Rob. So everything was talking way too much and not selling. I can tell you that for sure.
You need a sign. You need a sign outside your
Rob.
place that says "Home of the Ranger Rob Podcast Channel." You put that sign outside your place, and the people will be lined up to come in and see.
Well, I've kind of announced it already, and I'm going to continue to let people come in between that little window. We're getting up very early in the mornings. My daughter's up here from Arizona, and so she's been helping, and we've been trying to give her heat stroke all week. And so
She's from
it's
Arizona.
coming
How could
along,
she
but
get-
there is a lot of crap here. I mean, there's stuff we didn't even know was here. So it's some real treasures. So yeah, for those that are watching this show, if you're not watching this show, this is what happens when you don't watch the show. You don't hear about these hot deals. So you now know that you could come over to Ranger Rob's place this week, and you know we're busy, but just put gloves on, realize you're going to get dusty and dirty, and but there's some little gems you might find. And if you're in arts and crafts, oh my goodness, we found some really cool stuff for you guys. So come on down to Ranger Rob's place. Okay, so where are we at here? So we got that done. Piglets are doing good. We did lose a piglet, and so that was one of the reasons I was going to bring up the comment or the subject about weather. And I'm actually going to start off with John and Debbie because you're brand new people, and we're going to give you a chance. Because we can talk.
We talk.
So, yeah. And it's all and
Well, we're at the right spot then.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure when everybody meets Amy, who's our rock star, go, yeah, you're the rock star, but those two old guys talk too much, right?
Yeah.
They're saying that, aren't they? Don't let them talk too much. So anyway, the question is, and I'll explain my circumstance too, and then you guys can kind of tell us the homestead issues you guys are having with weather. And it can be late at different seasons too, but right now we're dealing with extreme warm weather, which a lot of East Coast people are too, like North Carolina. They get some hot weather. And so my problem probably shouldn't exist because there's hot weather other places too. But we lost a piglet because we, and I called some of my other IPP friends and stuff, and he was coughing and rasping a lot. And I thought, and he was one of my biggest piglets, would be typically your most strongest pig. And we think they're just getting too much dust between, even in our house, we have hay and stuff in there, but the dust is just constantly going up. So I talked to Steve Sparks over in Burns, Oregon, and he says, well, you might want to water down your pen a little bit and keep that dust down.
Have a sprinkler going.
We have started doing that, and it does seem better. And it also seems to keep them a little cooler. We do have shady areas for them, but I just feel terrible that we lost a piglet because it looked. I would have never guessed that would be the piglet we lost. Anyway, and then we'd still get other piglets coughing once in a while. And don't worry, we get dogs in the show all the time.
Yeah.
So we do get piglets occasionally. They'll get a little bit of dust in there because they're trying to get their noses in the dirt and stuff, and they don't breathe right, and they get it in their noses, and they're always coughing and wheezing. But spraying the area cured the problem we have. You know,
Sorry,
when
my
you're
brother
live
just came in.
when you do a live show, everything like that happens. So that's nothing. So with John and Debbie, you got pigs and you got some other animals, just like the same kind of animals we got. What problems have you come across with the hot weather?
The chickens.
Really?
Keeping the chickens cooled off has been a challenge. Pigs I'm not worried about because we have ponds in both cages.
Yeah, that's true.
And we fill those up
every day,
twice a day. But the chickens, I'm having a hard time keeping them cooled off.
What are you trying to do? I mean, what are you doing to help them?
Well, I'm spraying the ground, and I made like little mud puddles for them. But they're still, the last couple days, they're not hardly moving around at all.
Are they panting at all?
Yeah.
I think we get the same thing.
Do you have them I mean, are they covered up somehow?
Yeah.
Because, we ran into that problem and we dropped, what do we got? 70%, 30. We got a heavy shade cloth over them and everything. And a shade cloth will knock the temperature down 10 to 15 degrees a lot of the times. And that helps out. And then depending on how hot it is and how pampered my wife thinks these chickens need to be, she will drag a fan and a cord out there and set it up. Oh, yeah,
I don't blame her. I will do the same thing.
I would do the same.
She did this for
cooking the pig food.
Yeah, she did this. She did this for
God.
swallow nests that we had in our patio over in the valley and everything. But I mean, it seems to work for the chickens, and then they get frozen corn in the afternoon too. So
I just seen something about that on YouTube about taking corn and putting water in it and freezing it.
Yeah, no, she just buys straight frozen
I'm trying
corn,
that
so.
now.
Yeah.
But yes, John is right. When I first got my pigs, I was cooking their food.
Okay.
I am not lying.
Alrighty.
I cooked their food.
They were eating better than I was.
Yeah.
My thing is,
lie.
I want to come back and be reincarnated as one of my wife's pets or farm animals and everything like that. Yeah, because they live an amazing life.
And then during the wintertime, we run heat lamps to heat cloak pens.
Really? See, on your chickens, if they have full flight feathers and they're full out chickens, you don't really need a heat lamp on them, because I don't remember what the exact temperature rating it was. Chickens put off an amazing amount of radiant heat in there. In fact, we would leave windows open on our coop over in the valley, even down into the 20s, because you'd walk in there and it's like, wow, those birds put off some heat and everything. And so keeping them cool is more of a problem than keeping them warm. Ours never, I mean, and then in the wintertime, Diane does a complete plastic wrap on the coop and everything like that. So it's like a freaking greenhouse in there,
The way our chicken coop is set up is there's two sides to it. And one side I have a lamp, the other side I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a common misconception, that the chickens need some kind of heat, and once they have their full flight feathers on, they're pretty resilient to anything that's going on out there. And plus the fact that heat lamps are the biggest cause of chicken coop fires that exist. Now we've lost a couple out here on the ranch.
I did a lot of research on that too in our first year here, and I was convinced that chickens just don't need heat lamps.
They don't need any heat. Once those flight feathers are on, they're good to go. That's been our experience with probably over 40 juvenile birds over the last few years and everything. Not a problem.
Well, I was just
John and Debbie
they
though
weren't
have
even
like
a year old yet.
They're fine.
You don't have to worry about yours, Debbie, because I've seen your chickens. They're like little Hulk chickens. Oh my God! When they walk, the ground.
My bird's on steroids.
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's like they got these blonde chickens, which we don't know what they are. So hopefully we can maybe have. I know Aimee knows her chickens really well. They got these beautiful blonde colored chickens, and they're bigger than Rhode Island Reds. And when they walk, the ground moves. They're big chicken. And
we got pigs with no legs and humongous chickens.
Yeah, it's a weird farm over there. I'm telling you, you got these little wobbly pigs because they don't have any feet. And now she's got these overweight chickens that weigh a ton. And but they're beautiful, all beautiful chickens. And so, but she doesn't know the name of them, and so we need somebody to identify them. So one of these days we got to get a picture of your chicken, a good picture of it, and let somebody on the show tell us what kind of chickens they are. But they're beautiful.
Yeah. We have a garden pig or chicken now, and everything. This chicken was apparently the top of the heap in the flock at one time and beat up the other chickens, and they got tired of her. And so they basically jumped her out, beat her up, and we had to take her out. Now she just wanders around the yard, and, our back deck with our roof is probably our biggest living room area now. Yeah, this chicken is sitting underneath the table. She sits next to Diane's chair and everything else like this. And, it's weird. Like I say, I want to be one of her chickens.
Yeah, we got one like that too.
So, what are you doing for heat in your place, Aimee?
For the chickens and the birds, because I have 2 turkeys too, we're spraying down the ground. And they have quite a bit of shade, but just like Debbie said, spraying the ground, making the little puddles. They just love that. You know, they'll do their dust bath, but in the muddy stuff, so they're dirty, but they're cooling off. Like you've had trouble with the dust, not now, but we had a few horses here of a family member before. One of them was quite old, and one of the issues she had was the dust, and so she was taking daily medication to keep her airways clear. Yeah. And then Aubrey will talk more about it next week, but the biggest one we face with the heat is the rabbits. Yeah. Rabbits do not like heat, so they're going in between their outside pens and the air-conditioned tack room. And just like the chickens, the rabbits, when you get a whole bunch of them, and if you have rabbits, you will have a lot of them, they give off, get all these rabbits. They're trying to stay cool. We give them frozen water bottles to lay on. Yeah. But you have so many rabbits in there. They're also generating body heat. So we've been bringing them into the air conditioning. We've been doing frozen water bottles, spraying down everything. I'd really like to get a mister out there for both the chickens, and my turkeys love water. So the turkeys I know would really enjoy the mister, but that's kind of the summary.
Yeah. Last year I put a sprinkler out there on the fence where it sprayed out. The birds loved it.
Yeah.
It didn't bother them at all.
Yeah, my chickens don't seem to like the water, but my turkeys love it.
Well, do you have the same problem with your pigs when you're trying to cool them off, John and Debbie? Do you do they like being sprayed, or do they just rather not be sprayed?
One that does.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll spray them.
One that doesn't. All the rest of them like to be sprayed.
Okay.
Out of the 5 pigs, one does not like it.
Yeah, we kind of have the same thing. Not all the pigs like to be shot with the hose, but it seems like after you do it, they're really happy you did it, but they don't like the feeling of it or something. But all of them like it sprayed on their nose. I don't know. They like the pressure of the water.
I don't know. I have not tried doing their nose. I don't want to drown my pigs.
No, they do it on purpose. You can just hold the water, spraying into their water thing, and they'll come up and they'll put their nose in it, and they just love it.
Oh,
Yet they don't like to be sprayed.
A couple of mine like to drink out of the hose.
Yeah, it's cute. But if I try to spray their bodies, like they don't want nothing to do with it. So. But trying to keep these animals cool is interesting.
Yeah, it's difficult. You have to do it 2 or 3 times a day.
Well, yeah, we're out with the pigs.
I mean, even though I have really big ponds for them, it's still not enough.
And that water gets really warm.
Mm-hmm.
So on this panel here, how many people have problems with your water being scalding hot in the hose?
At first, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you don't want to use that.
Green.
You don't want to use that first, 10 seconds of the hose there at all or anything. Yeah. It gets pretty hot, particularly if you got a black hose or something like that. Now, a couple of things that I did with my rabbits years ago, there used to be these things called gunny sacks. They were this strange material called burlap, and you soak them. Yeah,
I'm that age.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, there you go. So you soak those in water, and we'd lay those over the top of the rabbit cages, and then put a big box fan behind it, and push it in there. I'm not a big fan of introducing mist into an animal environment and everything, because I mean it can work, but you have to watch out for respiratory issues a lot of the times, particularly with the smaller atomized waters. I've got some misters on some of my pots out here, and they work pretty good. And I think I'm going to put one up on the patio and everything. But you got to have, if you're going to use a mister, have a lot of air movement going on and everything. Good fans going and everything like that. And that'll help keep the rabbit cool. And that kind of comes back to using a lot of water on these things. And Aimee could actually tie this in, and it's something I want to talk to her and Aubrey about. Is her horse doesn't like that water, in that pond that she was doing that little play day thing on. Yeah. And, there's some ways to work with that horse and make her like water a lot better, by having a pond out there in the pen and maybe giving her a bath or something like that and everything. But that's some old-fashioned stuff. So I'll hand it to you that your rabbits have got it pretty good going into air conditioning. That's awesome.
So is anybody having your chickens slowing down and laying eggs or anything because of the heat?
Nope.
I have picked up my babies from this spring. They laid their first egg.
Yay!
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It never gets old. I'm so proud.
I know when I came over to their house yesterday, that was the first thing I heard. My babies are laying eggs.
I did not sound like that.
Conversation.
Our chickens are cruising right along. They're still going 8-9 eggs a day.
Since ours started laying, mine has never slowed down.
No, ours never had either, and a lot of it's got to do with the nutrition and the way you feed them. And I mean, they'll eat weeds. I went out and pulled some weeds that I didn't like today, and I threw them in there. And they thought that was the neatest thing in the world.
We put our grass clippings in there.
Yeah. Wheelbarrows full of weeds.
Yeah.
It's gone within 15 minutes.
Yeah. And so that works out pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I just started. I have to announce that I have worms. I just started I just started a mealworm farm for my chickens, and I about lost it. It'll be out on our YouTube channel here in a few days, but I almost lost it. I had mentally prepared good, opened up the box, put them in the tray, and it's on the video. It was I almost lost it. I was like,
I need to come over and see it, Amy.
I can't do this. They're all moving. And then my daughter, my oldest, grabbed the bag and was chasing me with it. It's all on the video. It'll be great. So if you aren't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do.
Yeah, I can see it now. Your title in your video will be Amy's Got Worms.
Amy, you cannot show weakness to your daughter like that. Okay, if she finds out that gets to you, you will never have you will be finding these mealworms everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
I got to tell you something about her daughter. One of her daughters shocked me yesterday. So she's got 3 daughters. So the oldest is a teenager, becoming a teenager, and torn between the two worlds of a kid and be amazing kid. And then I got Zoe. Of course, you've met Zoe. Zoe is a powerhouse. That's the best word for her, but she's charming and very respectful. But she's got this little 4-year-old. And what's her name again? I cannot remember.
Edda. 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 Mm-hmm.
All right. So this little Edda, cuter and can be 4 years old, kind of tugs on me a little bit because I'm talking to all the girls because they love to talk to their Ranger Rob stuff about what they do, because Zoe likes her art, and her Aubrey likes her horses and rabbits, and but the little one kind of like pulls me down and says, "You can ask me questions." No. And she's never done that before. She's always kind of stayed off to the side, and so I asked her a question. It's like, "Can I have more questions?" She goes, "Yes." And so pretty soon we're up to like 15 questions. I was running out of questions, but she was a darling. She was like, she's never wanted to be like that because the other kids. And I was so proud that she did that, because some kids are just staying in that shy mode. Anyway, she was a darling. It was the highlight of my day was her doing that. And so once again, and it doesn't bother me, but I love kids that are inquisitive, and she's really polite too, because sometimes mom says, "You gotta wait," and she'd sit on the side, and then I've got to sit there and go, "All right, I got to remember to ask her." What she was, because I'm terrible at getting all these conversations going, but I think I kept up with her. But I was mentally exhausted from your children yesterday.
Well, how do you think I feel?
I know. I talked to Dustin, your husband. I'm going
24/7 homeschooling all 3 of them.
And the first thing I had to say is Zoe. And he goes, "Yeah, Zoe." She's an amazing girl, but she's a powerhouse. But anyway, so I got to tell you, it was a really fun trip, because we brought my little grandson over, who's really in the city. So it was really a shocker of just life is so different, totally different world. And so in some cases we saw that. And I always want to remind our group here that how responsible we are for people that don't homestead and are in the cities or are asking any kind of questions about what we're doing. Like, why would you want worms for your chickens? Those are not dumb questions to them. To us, we're going, oh yeah, that's like
Tree.
the best dessert ever. So we got to always be careful. We need to be careful when we bring people into our world that we bring them in at their speed, because some people literally do not know where that meat comes from. They just see the meat in the store, and it's a reality. And anyway, and I worry about sometimes peer groups when they're in school and they talk about where stuff comes from. If they don't know the answers, they make stuff up. Anyway, so the reality yesterday was wonderful. And so Amy's family did a really good job of literally showing where milk comes from. And the first time we ever got to milk a calf. And that's terrifying if you never done it before. That's a lot of animal going, on that bottle. It's a little scary if you've never done it before. And so, his mouth about dropped to the ground, but he did great. He was pretty strong, trying to say, "This doesn't scare me. I can do this." And but he loved your rabbits, and they did have to talk like, why does she have so many rabbits and what they do with them? But it was great to let Tracy do that, and my daughter, and so it was a good, super good experience for him. So, but he didn't like your flies.
This mealworm thing, Amy. Now that you mentioned it, Diane is probably out there in the living room watching this on her tablet, and so she will be asking me where you ordered the mealworms at, so she can get that done in the next 10 or 15
I would like to know too, Amy.
Okay. I don't know if I should tell y'all or make you watch the video I recorded. You're gonna watch.
I'm coming over to your house.
Okay. No, that's great. I got them from Pacific Northwest Mealworms. And you know what's the coolest? So it's pnwmealworms.org. If you're watching, that'd be cool. Thank you for the great mealworms. And I got the beetles too. So I've got the beetles that will lay the eggs and then I got the worms too. So I'm going to have the complete life cycle. And what's really cool is the company is based, look at their plotting.
I am.
Look at each other plotting.
No,
I am.
I see me making a little cage for them and everything. So
all on the video, how I did it. You're not going to have to figure it out. But the coolest part is the company that I bought them from is here in Oregon. So Pacific Northwest, they're in Oregon. It's actually the hometown, like within 20 miles from where we moved from here. I didn't know they existed. I found it through a YouTube channel. So it's pretty cool. It's a small world.
Thanks, Amy. I appreciate that, because I mean, those damn things are like $38 a bag or whatever.
Yeah.
$45 a bag.
Is that what it is now? Well, I can tell you, we're probably going to get into mealworm farming here then, because I'm not going to pay that much for that.
Chicken food doubled last week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and yeah. Well, I mean, I went out yesterday. I spent most of the day hauling landscape materials in here. I paid 25% more for the landscape materials than I did last fall, and cost me $175 in diesel to, get them up here and everything else like that. So if we can cut a little bit, and they like the mealworms, so we buy discounted, different stuff for them and everything like that. But I think that makes sense. And we used to use a lot of ladybugs and thrips for predators like that. So that's kind of along the same line there. If you can get into that's a pretty cool thing.
So with the panel here, for people watching that might not understand why the mealworms are important, why is mealworms important for our chickens?
38% protein. 36 to 38%. They're expensive, but that is a hell of a chunk of protein.
And pigs love them too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Pigs love everything.
Love them.
When you come over, we'll make up a doggy bag to send home to your pigs. As long as you send me a video of them eating them, because I want to see that.
Pigs root in the ground. Larva lives in the ground. That's just a
those
no-brainer.
pigs, they love it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
speaking of finding weird things, we had informed our neighbor because we purchased a basket of bread products from Fran's Bakery that they were going to get rid of to supplement our feed. Well, little do we know that a basket is like your Costco shopping carts.
Wow.
For $12.
For $12.
Wow.
That's a deal.
So
Yeah, we were shocked when we went to go because it just had they have a sign there that say animal food. It's just day old, week old,
Yeah.
whatever. So we were thinking, one of the little hand baskets. No, they came out with this cart that was heaping full of bread.
Wow.
So if anybody
And
needs to
that's
supplement
why
their
they have
food,
500-pound chickens.
Yeah, there you go.
we did that once, Rob.
You're
But
feeding
our
them.
neighbors, we told them about it, and he just came over and said he was bearing gifts. He couldn't fit it all in his freezer, so he gave us 2 bags.
Wow.
The
But
reason
it's a
those
lot.
the reason those-
we don't give it to them a lot.
that those chickens are heavyweights is they're getting those mealworms at 36% protein, and then they're getting all jacked up on these complex sugars and everything, the carbohydrates and the
It's
bread.
like their pigs are in the water. When people show up, they just lean
they
over.
lay
and go,
good eggs.
Yeah. I mean, so you got
that pig can't
You got-
even stand up. He's so big.
you got straight up solid high protein with complex sugars. Now, what can't happen there? Awesome.
Thank God we only did that once.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Actually,
so
the
funny.
one that he's talking about that's a roly-poly is totally on me.
The pig.
I always wanted a pig,
It was a corgi
and John
pig.
got me my first pig. I didn't know nothing about them, and I totally overfed them.
Now
And that's
you're
why she
getting
has
ready
no
to
legs.
you're getting ready to butcher 3 feeders right pretty soon next month.
Yeah, the feeders. And
Yeah,
the
they
feeders,
got
I
3 big
didn't
ones.
feed them like that at all.
Yeah, they
In
look
fact,
really good.
I didn't name them.
they're all
I
sitting
didn't
there
do much
going.
with them.
Yeah, they all kind of look pretty hulky. They're pretty good looking pigs.
Yeah, they
So,
they
yeah,
were
they're ready.
strictly on feed.
Excellent. So it's still fun to tease you about your corgi pigs.
Dizzy is definitely a fatty.
Right.
Poor
And
thing
once
can't
again, you
hardly
guys
get
have
up.
coonies, right? Most your
Dizzy
pigs
is-
cooney.
The fat one is a full-blood cooney. The
The
other
corgi.
one is cooney and what?
Pershire.
Pershire.
Oh, Berkshires. Yep, they're good looking pigs. But yeah, there's this funny. It's like, ooh, that's a lot of pig for no legs. They're so weird because
I feel sorry for Dizzy because she literally can't hardly get up.
I know I watched her walk, going, "Is she gonna make it?" She was a big pig. It's just funny because when we go for IPPs, they got the big long legs. So when you see the short
Yeah,
legs,
yours
it just
does.
blows your mind. Oh my gosh! But I've got a pig too. That's a monster. So, and she's being bred. I feel sorry for my poor
They
boar.
lay
He's
down for it. Don't worry about it.
Sparky can
It's like-
handle it.
It's like she's a lot of pig. So it's like, but if she gets pregnant, I'm giving my pig. I'm giving Sparky some mealworms. I mean, he deserves that. She's a big pig.
He
And
apparently
she'll slap
don't
you
need.
in.
Still.
He apparently doesn't need any extra protein since he got to that other one of yours without a lot of extra
Yeah.
feed.
She's not even hardly as a teenager.
Yeah,
by the
she
way, I was
definitely
at
got some legs.
Costco and get these 500-pound water things.
Hello.
These are awesome. I've never had one before. And man, you can keep your ice all day.
Actually, we got these ones from Walmart,
Oh,
Wow.
and
You
they
get like
last
2 of these
all
for
day.
$29 at Costco. We finally bought some, and the only problem is if you're out working in our garage right now, you'll never have to use the restroom. But as soon as you stop working in our garage, this will keep you going to the house a lot. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a nice investment. And plus, us older folks, just make sure that we're drinking water. It's really important. So I'm really glad we got those. But never had those before. It's really cool.
And younger people, Amy, when it's hot.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I worry about my kids. You know, we
Your
all worry
kids,
about our
yeah.
garden, keeping the garden watered and everything in the heat, watering at the right times. We worry about the animals. My oldest, when she was about 3, had heat stroke, and it was very scary. She had 104-degree fever. It
Ooh.
was terrifying. And they
bet
say
it was.
if you've had it once, you're more prone to it. And she is prone to overheating, and she's always out with the horses. And I have to tell her, are you dressed for the weather? Have you drank enough water? Take your water bottle with you on your trail ride. So the little bitty ones, they get so busy, they're playing, they don't think about it, especially if they're in the pool. They're not thinking they're too hot. So everybody watching, keep your family hydrated during this heat.
Yep.
Good
Good,
advice.
nice.
Oh yeah, you absolutely have to, and I think, and particularly, I do have a extremely compromised digestive system, and if I don't stay hydrated, I get impacted bowel, and you don't want those. That's not a pleasant experience. That's a 3 days of downtime, and 2 weeks to come back from something like that. And despite how warm it is and everything else, long sleeves and a big brimmed hat, or you'll be like me, 65, and the guy's in there sawing on the skin cancer, getting it off you and everything like that from a lifetime basically of being outside. So hydration and covering, absolutely.
Definitely.
I got my first one at age 40, heat stroke, and I was down for 3 weeks.
Oh, it's a serious thing. I was a paramedic for a number of years, and there's a definite difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Okay, heat exhaustion is just that you wear out and everything. Heat stroke is a trauma system entry. It is a trauma situation. You get heat stroke, you're going to go to the hospital, and they're going to stick a bunch of needles in you and do some other stuff. It's serious, and it's nothing to mess with. I mean, it borders right up there with respiratory distress and some other things as far as the serious illness goes.
Yep. So before we switch over to our next subject, first of all, I want to remind everybody, when you're listening to the podcast, we are on Spreaker. That's our main platform. But that from Spreaker, we're out on iHeartRadio. We're on all kinds of different platforms, and Spotify, all those guys. So if you have the software on your phone for podcasts, just type in Ranger Rob Country Living Podcast, and you'll most likely easily find us. And just put us in your favorites, and you can listen to every episode we've done. So and if you don't, you won't sleep well. You're gonna feel sick. You'll feel like you'll probably get heat stroke. All those things.
More easily.
You really should watch and listen to.
You'll be really thirsty.
Oh, you'll be thirsty. Oh yeah. So thirsty for more Ranger Rob Country Living podcast.
That's right.
Anyway, guys, obviously there's the audio version of all this, and so you can find all that on your regular cell phones, guys. Next thing I want to talk about was food processing. And I don't know if that's actually the word to use, but some of us are starting to get stuff out of our gardens. So I'll start with we'll start with John again. And Debbie, what are some of the first things coming out of your garden? Anything besides mealworms? No.
Soon?
Still growing though.
Okay, being a first-time gardener ever, I did not start it early because we went on vacation. So my garden for the first time, I gotta say I'm really proud of it. I got leaves.
Oh, you got leaves on what again?
What?
And I saw the garden. They got some clever ideas because they're battling rabbits.
Oh yeah,
but their fix is amazing.
I love rabbits, but these little buggers, I wasn't going to take a chance.
Yep.
I went on YouTube. I haven't had a problem with them. Thank God.
Yeah. Well, once you see what they've done for the rabbit, they fend off the rabbits. Amazing ideas. So I got some pictures of it in the video, but probably not as good as I should have. But,
well, one thing I did also besides caging and stuff is chili powder.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
Chili powder, and I haven't had any rabbits come except get out one plant.
Wow.
So
that's not bad.
Don't know if it's gonna work or not, but I'm doing pretty good so far. But as far as anything coming up, I have leads.
Well, I'm going to move over to Dale. How's your stuff doing?
Oh, it's doing pretty good. We got excuse me, lots of zucchini coming on. Enough that Diane made zucchini bread and cupcakes this afternoon, which are just awesome. And freezing up some of that. Oh, we'll have plenty. We'll make boatloads of this stuff, and then a couple of zucchinis they get too big, so they just get chopped up and thrown to the chickens and everything. I've got a few blooms on these heirloom tomatoes, but nothing to speak of yet as far as setting any fruit.
It's a little early for tomatoes here.
Yeah. We'll wait and see what happens. They're being well watered and everything. So we added a little bit of mulch today around the different beds and everything to kind of hold our water in. We're having really good luck with our drip irrigation system and everything we've got going on there with that. We got 6 foot tall corn, setting a few ears on it and everything. Yeah.
Are you giving them mealworms or something? What's going on?
It's just my magical soil combination that I put over in that area and everything. And then I've got drip irrigation on it. If you have heat and you have water, you can't drown corn. Okay. You just can't do it if you have heat. And I am just excessively watering this. It's a great place. Our yard chicken loves it, goes back under there to that cool leaves and everything like that. So, I could probably, I backed my potatoes down a little bit. They were starting to flower and they're too tall. And I didn't like it. So I'm letting them water about, 5 days a week, 4 days a week right now. I'm going to dry them up a little bit and see what happens. Milkweed. I got some milkweed coming on. That's another story in itself. That's a butterfly mixture. I seeded some up and it's actually working. So that's kind of a surprise.
So are you getting butterflies?
We've got tons of butterflies. I mean, we have so much pollinator plants in the backyard right now, and it's great to see them here. And I will repeat what I think I said a couple weeks ago. Bees pollination is down 80 to 90% over what it was last year and everything. And I'm going to attribute that to the loss of 2 hives within a mile of my place that I know about. The smaller pollinators are out there, but not seeing a lot of mason bees and seeing zero.
Not seeing much either.
Yeah.
So, Amy, what are you starting to pack into the refrigerator?
Zucchini.
Wow.
And every time I turn around, somebody's picked a zucchini and brought it in the house. And I would love to set up a time-lapse camera on the zucchini or the sunflowers or the corn, because I swear they're growing by measurable inches from morning to night. It just
that would
seems
be cool to watch.
Yeah. And so I do sourdough. And so in the morning, I'm going to try zucchini sourdough bread. So cross your fingers. It's an experiment.
How are you doing on strawberries?
We can't really see how many we're getting, because as soon as one is barely ripe, the kids eat it, the little ones.
We have the same problem here.
It's good somebody's enjoying it. And then my herbs, herbs that I started from seed are like, my tarragon is like a foot tall. I'm staying so busy. I know we all are, but I'm trying to go out every day, see what needs to be picked, what needs to be dried, I got this really cool stackable hanging drying thing for my herbs. And so it's just constant, what needs to be picked, what needs to be taken from the dryer and stored. So I'm just really pleased with how well my herbs are doing. I'm like, and every chance I get, I tell somebody, that was made with my sourdough and my eggs and my zucchini and my basil. And I
have worms.
And my worms. It's the secret ingredient. You thought it was love. It isn't. It's mealworms.
It's mealworms.
Now no one's going to come to my house for dinner. Gosh darn it.
Yeah, I know. They're all going to come over. That's the lady with the worms.
No, but there's basil.
Yeah, you have to think, how efficient are those mealworm larvae in converting whatever they eat to protein? I mean, there's no other, animal or product that I know of that has that kind of.
I can't wait to do that.
You guys are gross.
And I have potato slices and carrot slices in there, both for them to eat, and that's how they get their water. Oh my gosh. And the
How often
worms,
do you have to do that?
you're not supposed to do it except for like once a week, but they just came in the mail yesterday and I wasn't expecting them till today. So there was this big scramble to get their house ready. But they must have been thirsty. Oh, it's so disgusting. They're just like all on the carrot, just like, oh, it's so disgusting. I can't. You guys, I can't. I think this was a mistake. Who wants my worms? I don't think I can do it.
I'm not doing worms. I've done them
No.
before too.
Yeah, I have
They
a
are kinda
question
cool.
for you. Are you growing potatoes?
Yes.
Do you water those every day? Twice a day?
I have been, but like I said,
Okay.
I on my raised beds that I have them in, I finally went through. I put isolation valves on each bed because I've got different things going on, and potatoes are one of those things that I no doubt I am overwatering them and everything like that. So I'm gonna let them dry up pretty good here, and I'm gonna cut them back maybe twice a week, and that's gonna be it. Because I mean that's basically how we would have grown them in a commercial situation. We'd have probably come across them with some water, a deep watering, every 14 days, probably something like that.
Oh,
So I'm overwatering them. Potatoes are
I think I
extremely
am too.
yeah, potatoes are extremely efficient at extracting moisture out of the soils and sandy soils like we have here. That's why they grow so good here because the soils are very similar to what is in Idaho, in Hermiston and some of the other places. Although we got great crops on them in the valley with the higher soils. But yeah, they don't. In fact, I need to look some of this stuff up and everything because I've always been the denier. I went to Oregon State University and for agriculture, and that's a land grant university. They've got agriculture down pretty good, and so I mean I'm going to go on there and see what their recommendations are, and really what's helped me out a lot is this new control system I have. It's a Wi-Fi controller, and it's got a lot of flexibility to it that really allows me to tailor water to my zones on my system a little bit better. But yeah, I'm gonna cut those potatoes back.
Yeah, because I have mine in a raised. There's no bottom to it, but I
Yeah,
have
mine
them
either.
like in a raised, and then I also tried them in those felt bags.
Yeah.
But
How'd that work?
They're on
going
steroids.
crazy.
Yeah, that's
I have flowers on mine already.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've got blossoms on mine too,
So do I.
and everything. And I mean, and those felt bags work extremely good for that. They're a lot better than containers. People will use containers, but the felt bags, even though they're black, they don't they dissipate the heat a lot better than they do the plastic containers. And so if you're going to grow them,
Definitely.
that's a pretty good way to do it and
Yeah,
everything.
I have 6 of them started. Last year I just did it for the heck of it because we just got here. And so I just threw some potatoes in this round container that I had. I mean, they came out this big, but
Yeah,
you grew them.
you can do it a bunch of different ways. I mean, I had volunteers coming up. I think we pulled the last of our volunteer potatoes that were popped in some different beds last week or something like that. But yeah, that's an interesting question. I mean, I'm going to get on and find out what the water requirement is for them and everything, and then we could share that. And
That'd be good to know.
me,
Mine
I
are
have a
doing good
tendency
too,
to
but I can shut my water off or regulate it on the potatoes, but I'm running it pretty much the same as all my other veggies. But
yeah.
my potatoes are like giant rhododendron bushes. They're just gigantic. And
yeah.
it's like
Yeah, and
I don't know
I
I don't know
think
if I
that,
should stop or not. I got all these beautiful flowers. It's
well,
like, do I
everybody's
cut them
always
back?
said to me when they're flowering, when they're done flowering, then it's time to shut the water off. And basically, they're a tuber, they're a root crop, and I think once that the foliage naturally starts burning down and drying up, then you can just stop watering at that point in time because all you're going to do is rot them and everything.
Yeah, I heard that's
See,
what I
nothing.
heard is once the leaves start turning, just
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah, because I'm
Okay.
fully flowered, but my leaves are beautiful dark green right now. So I don't know. It doesn't show a sign of turning yet. So I'm not stopping yet. But I'm kind of like, when is that turning point?
Yeah,
And I know
that's
I'm
what I
getting
don't
close.
know because I do
Hey,
mine in the
my
early morning and
Hmm.
after the sun goes down.
my ever efficient wife homestead partner here just handed me basically it says stop watering your tomato plants 2 to 3 weeks before harvest, or when you first see the foliage on the plants start to turn yellow? And then, do potatoes need to be watered every day? Potatoes need between 1 and 2 inches of water per week. That's a pretty consistent number across a lot of crops. What you're losing in evapotranspiration rates, and my control system actually tells me how much water I'm losing every day. It goes online and it finds that out, and then it calculates how much time I need to run my system and everything. So yeah, in some of it, yeah. Well, I don't know. You live a career doing this stuff, and the thing is, the technology and everything else out there is so awesome. Now it's making agriculture so much more efficient and everything. And this is kind of part of it.
You don't see me using tech much, man. No.
No, you get out
not
there.
Not at all.
So stick a couple of tuna.
I don't use it.
Stick a couple of tuna fish cans or something out there, in your potato beds, and let it run your normal irrigation. See what you get in there. Measure it out, and then just figure that out, what you should be putting on over a week. It's called evapotranspiration. Plants use water at a certain rate, and that's going to be consistent. It's going to be stressed and added to by our increased temperatures, by lower humidities, and everything else like that. But Agromet is a website. It's all the different agriculture areas around. I've used it for years. It tells me how much water I need to put on. So on a day like today, I think we probably lost somewhere around 0.35 inches of water today. So basically you need to reapply 0.35 inches of water plus a little bit more. 0.35 will maintain the crop. You're going to have to put some more with it if you want to advance the crop a little farther. So real simple, just measure how much you're putting on, and that'll tell you how much you need to do. 1 to 2 inches of 2 inches of water a week right now is probably pretty good.
Cool. Thank you, Spock.
Hey, just got to make use of it.
The guy knows his numbers. So quick question before we go, guys, is want to remind people, if you're interested in being on a show, please notify us, get a hold of us. And we love guests. We're going to try to talk John and Debbie being on with us all the time. And
no problem.
So until we drive them crazy. Yeah. We can take up to 10. So we're happy to bring more people on. And if you have ideas for the show, but what's that?
Our box will be really small by then.
Yeah, that's true. It gets kind of fun. I've had 10 before. It's quite crazy. But it's a lot of fun. The other part is if you want to be in the show, let us know. And if you have subjects you'd like us to talk about, just shoot us a note in the comments. And I know that a lot of our viewers we usually get after the show and also on the audio shows. In those areas, in the comment areas, can you make sure and let us know what you'd like us to talk about? Or if you'd like to say something to any of our particular hosts here, just shoot us a note. We'd love it. And we are in Central Oregon for those that catch our show outside of here. And we do have a lot of folks outside of Oregon. So we're in the Central Oregon east side of Oregon. So we're not in the evergreen part of Oregon. Yeah. So we deal with high desert kind of soils and stuff like that. So we really have to pay attention to some of the things we grow here. So it's not quite as easy as Washington and Oregon and the west side.
Not at all.
Yeah, they definitely have seasons that we know you can kind of count on. But here, it's a doozy, and every year's a little different. So I do want to take the time to say thank you very much to John and Debbie Sternberg. This is their first time on the show.
Nice to virtually meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
Yes, we will meet. See you eye to eye.
Follow you.
What we're trying to before we do get offline here, I want to give you a good example. This is the beginning of the community, and our community is growing. And a community doesn't mean you have to be special and you have to sign up for anything. We just help each other and trade with one another. Yep. And support our families. And so that's really our message on this show is community. And whether you're on Crooked River Ranch, Central Oregon, or another state, we want to be part of your community. So we hope to lead by example with this show. So with that, guys, I got to say, have everybody say goodbye to our audience, and don't hang up when we do this. For John and Debbie, they haven't done this before. We got to cut off at 1 hour. So, guys, thank you for watching. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you very much for watching our video. Please take the time to like, subscribe, and share our videos all over the whole wide world. Thanks.